Back in 2006, Honda introduced their first ever pickup truck. It was a truck that was built in the Honda way, which meant it was very unconventional. It had a four-wheel independent suspension, it had a unibody chassis. It was built off of the existing and very strong-selling Honda Pilot platform. Now, of course, strong sales prompted Honda to do an all-new second generation for 2017. I drove that truck when it first came out around 4 years ago. However, I had a lot of criticism that had to do with its soft styling. So as you can see, for 2021, Honda is giving the Ridgeline some much more masculine upgrades to the styling, especially when you look at this one here, equipped with the Hpd Honda Performance Development accessory package that includes things like these massively wide gray fender flares. So if you guys are in the market for a truck and you don't necessarily need to do truck things, how does the 2021 Honda Ridgeline Hpd stack up? Stay tuned to find out. Now, one of the things that I hated about this current generation Ridgeline is when I first saw it, if you look at it from this angle, a lot of you can easily mistake it for a Pilot SUV. Honda didn't really make that many changes to the Ridgeline for the front fascia. So as you can see for 2021, for this heavy mid-cycle refresh, Honda has addressed that criticism from me as well as a lot of other journalists. The grille of this vehicle is much larger. You can see it's also a lot more squared off. This particular one here with the Hpd package includes their Sport grille, which has a slightly different finish. You have some black trim. The headlights look pretty much identical, although Honda did make LED headlights as standard. You get LED low beams as standard. There are no LED daytime running lights on this trim. The Ridgeline is still available in 4 different trims. This is the base Sport model. You have a halogen daytime running light over here in the center, and then you have incandescent turn signals. At least it does come with LED fog lights, and the LED low beam headlights are a huge upgrade. If you guys go for the rtl-e trim, Honda will upgrade these to automatic high beams, and you'll also get an LED daytime running light. So overall, let me know in the comments below if you think Honda improved the look of this truck. I think it's an improvement from this angle. It definitely helps to distinguish it a lot more versus a Pilot. Now from this angle, I really don't like some of the changes that Honda made to the Ridgeline for 2021. Now obviously I like the front end, but what I don't like are these massive fender flares that you get on the Honda Hpd package. You can get rid of these plastic fender flares by just not checking the Hpd option box. In fact, Honda offers a utility package that would give you roof rail crossbars and running boards, and I think that does a really good job at just making this truck look a lot more adventure ready versus these plastic fender flares. Now I do like are the new wheels on this truck. You can see the Hpd model gives you these bronze finished 18-inch wheels. You can also take your pick between either a gray or a black finish if you'd like. I'd probably go with the black finish to go with this platinum white color. It's a $400 extra charge for the color. But you can see Honda also equipped it with these Firestone Destination tires. These are actually what you'd call a sport terrain tire because it's a car tire with a more aggressive tread pattern on it. I first saw that on the Chevrolet Trailblazer. So the tires look good, but they only add marginal improvements to off-road capability because they're not a true all-terrain tire. Now Ridgeline still only come in 1 cab configuration, 4 full-size doors, a bed that's around 64 inches long, so a little over 5 feet. But these massive doors back here allow you to have way more rear seat space versus something like a Tacoma. Even the 4-door version, the Ridgeline still has class-leading space. Again, I would probably add those roof rail crossbars that would make the truck look a lot better. Without those features, it just looks a little bit naked. Remember, this is a relatively big truck by mid-size standards at 210 inches long. This is around a foot longer than something like a Honda Pilot. From this angle, I think Honda also did a really good job with changing up the styling. As you can see, the Hpd package includes these graphics here to let everybody know that you have this Honda Performance Development Package. Again, I'd probably skip that. The rear LED taillights are a combination. They haven't really changed. What did change, however, is the exhaust system. You can see it's got a dual chrome outlet tip here, which looks good. It's not a sport exhaust. It doesn't sound any more aggressive versus last year's Ridgeline, but it does a really good job at making this look a lot more sporty, a lot more masculine, a lot more aggressive. You can see gray bumpers that you get front and rear. That's kind of what you expect in a truck. And ground clearance, this is the weak part about the Ridgeline. I think it would have looked a lot better if Honda had actually lifted up the suspension. You only get 7.6 inches of ground clearance on this truck. For something like this, Honda should have given us at least an inch raise to the suspension with this package. So I think they should have done that. It would have given the truck a much more cohesive look. Now, Ridgelines, of course, are well known for their dual mode tailgates. This is one of the first and only vehicles to offer a feature like that. And what that means is you can open up the tailgate in the traditional manner, which isn't actually damped. That's one of the sacrifices you have to make with this dual mode tailgate. Honda says this tailgate here will hold a maximum of 300 pounds. So if you're heavier or fatter than 300 pounds, I don't recommend sitting on this. You might end up breaking it. The bed itself will hold a maximum of 1,583 pounds. That is class leading in terms of payload capacity, which really surprised me. I didn't expect Honda to actually deliver something like that in the mid-sized truck segment. You can also open up the tailgate in this manner here, which is definitely the coolest party trick about the Ridgeline is this dual mode feature. You can see it's a composite bed. It measures around 34 cubic feet if you're going to measure it by the cubic feet like an SUV, but it's roughly 5.3 feet long. So it's a little bit shorter than some of the 6 foot long beds that you can get on its competitors where they offer the different bed lengths. Honda even offers an embed audio system back here if you guys go for the higher rtl-e trim. You can also get LED lighting back here, which this doesn't have the LED lighting. And you can see if you open up this little area here, there's around 7.3 cubic feet of space back here. This is waterproof, and it's also designed to be used like as a cool box because there's a drain plug back here along with the spare tire, all this stuff that you need to get to the spare tire. This is probably the coolest feature about the Ridgeline because you have this lockable trunk, and it's exactly the reason why so many people who don't necessarily need a truck or didn't think they need a truck will want and use something like this in their everyday lives because it's a very practical vehicle that you never thought you'd need until you actually own one. Now, under the Ridgeline's new bulging hood, you're going to find just one engine choice, and they didn't make any changes this year. It's still a 3.5 liter naturally aspirated single overhead cam V6 with their VTEC technology. Of course, it has iVTEC, still makes 280 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. The engine didn't really need to change. However, Honda did upgrade the transmission. It's now a 9-speed auto. It's that same ZF transmission that's in the Pilot. The 6-speed automatic has been dropped, and the 2-wheel drive, front-wheel drive version has also been dropped. All of them come with their variable torque management all-wheel drive system, which has the ability to send up to 70% of the power to the rear. Now, towing capacity is also not bad. It's rated at 5,000 pounds, although it does not tow as much as its competitors. And fuel economy is rated at 18 in the city, 24 on the highway on regular gas. That actually went down by 1 mpg on the highway rating, so you can kind of credit that to the more masculine styling elements. It's a little bit less aerodynamic. Now, 0 to 60 time should be in the mid 6-second range. The 9-speed auto should improve that, but overall it's still a really smooth powertrain. But if you're looking for an electrified option or you're looking for a 4-cylinder, the Ridgeline just doesn't offer that. Now, mechanically, aside from Honda just replacing the 6-speed auto with their 9-speed automatic, which is the same transmission that we find in the Pilot, it's the ZF 9-speed, the Ridgeline has not changed for 2021, so it should theoretically drive just like the 2017, 2018 model that I drove a few years ago when this second generation first came out. Now, those of you who have never owned a truck before, you're gonna still love the way the Ridgeline drives because it drives exactly like a car. It essentially feels like a Pilot with a pickup bed at the back, which can kind of feel like a Honda Odyssey minivan because remember, the two vehicles share the same platform, although Honda is quick to point out that everything behind the cab is unique on the Ridgeline because it has that bed. This is a truck that, or a vehicle that is roughly a foot longer than the Pilot, and you're gonna feel the overall length, but because of that four-wheel independent suspension, the Ridgeline is just a very civilized truck. You know, some of you truck people out there will probably argue this isn't a real truck, it's got a unibody platform. However, this is definitely a lifestyle, kind of truck that still can haul loads. Now, obviously, I haven't driven the newest competitor yet, which is the Hyundai Santa Cruz, although it is considerably smaller than the Ridgeline. I do want to test out the 0 to 60 of this vehicle because it is, again, a little bit, it should be a little quicker with this new transmission. So we'll put the transmission to sport mode here. I'll just floor it. You can really hear that VTEC kick in about 5,000 RPM. Remember, it still makes 280 horsepower, and my Racebox 0 to 60 timer here is saying 7.28 seconds. 7.28 seconds. That's a little bit slower than what I thought it would be. I thought this thing should be around the 6.2 second mark, so not entirely sure what happened there, but I'm gonna try again. I wanna see what we can do if I brake torque it, because I believe the Ridgeline can be a little bit faster. So we'll also turn off the stability control because why not? And again, we will try brake torquing it here from a stop. All right, so there we go, a 0 to 60 time of 6.83 seconds there, 6.83. Much better. Definitely made a difference when I brake torqued it a little bit and I turned off the stability control, though there was no wheel spin, there was no loss of traction, but the 9-speed auto definitely takes advantage of the gears, of the extra gear ratios for this V6. Although I'm still finding the transmission has this slight hesitation whenever it shifts. It shifts okay in terms of quickness, but I'm sad that Honda didn't put their new 10-speed in this vehicle. Not surprised it doesn't have it because remember, this is a Pilot underneath. The Pilot does not have that new transmission yet. The new MDX, however, does have that transmission. And I imagine it's shaved off a couple of seconds off the 0 to 60 time. But 6.8 seconds is respectable. This feels quicker than the last Toyota Tacoma that I drove. It feels about on par with the last GMC Canyon with its naturally aspirated 3.6 liter V6. Remember, this comes standard with the company's variable torque management four-wheel drive system, which means the VTM4 can send up to 70% of the power rearward and then 100% of the power side to side, depending on which wheel has the most traction. So it's kind of like a form of Acura super handling all-wheel drive, but obviously it's been tuned differently for the Ridgeline. Now, other than that, it's a really nice driving car in these conditions, or truck in these conditions. The steering is light, there's a decent amount of feedback coming through. The suspension stays nice and planted. The tires have decent grip. The truck feels relatively heavy. I mean, this is a 4,700 pound vehicle, so it is on the heavier side, but it's just very car-like, and that's something that people who aren't used to trucks are going to really appreciate about the Ridgeline. It's a very car-like vehicle, and that's a good thing if you guys don't want it to feel like this lumbering heavy truck. Now the bad news is, even though it is a car-based platform, I didn't get that great a gas mileage in it in my weeks worth of testing. I got around 16 mpg around the city. On the highway, it did around 23 mpg, so slightly below the EPA's numbers. I imagine if you guys have a little bit lighter foot, try a little bit better, you can get better MPG, but I've just never had good luck with MPG in the real world with this 9-speed auto. It is really lethargic to shift at times. In sport mode, it's fine, but in drive, it really doesn't want to get out of its top gear, and it also has a slight hesitation. So I'm not a fan of this 9-speed still. Is it an improvement over the 6-speed? Maybe in terms of 0 to 60 times, but I think I found the 6-speed to be a little bit more responsive. Now, in terms of safety tech, this sport version is missing their blind spot monitoring with rear cross traffic alert. You get that on the RTL trims. You do get Honda's sensing, which means you have adaptive cruise, lane keep assist, automatic braking. That is nice that it comes standard. A lot of the other trucks don't come standard with those features. You have to pay extra or they're not even available. So that's something that's good about the Ridgeline. One thing I don't like, my Tester here at $40,000 with the Hpd package has this cheap-feeling urethane steering wheel, which is not my favorite. The seats are also cloth, which the cloth seats are okay. I don't hate them, but I don't prefer cloth. I much prefer the leather. You got to spend another $3 grand to get the leather and the RTL trim, which I'd probably recommend. You get a bunch of other features as well. But really the problem is this truck just feels dated. The interior definitely feels dated. I mean, they added a volume knob here, which is nice. The steering wheel is the same steering wheel out of the Pilot. The horn actually is a pretty nice sounding horn. I'd probably say it's about average for this segment type of vehicle. It's a good sounding horn. The back seats are still way more roomy versus a lot of its competitors at 38 inches or 37 inches back there. It's a good amount of space. The cabin in general is just open, airy. It feels minivan-like in here because you've got this massive storage console again, which is nice. The 8-inch touchscreen here is now standard. You have the volume knob. Like I said, it has wired connection, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It works fine when you have it in the CarPlay setting, but the screen itself is very hateful. It's still laggy. It's still slow. It still, is a generation behind for me in terms of, what it could be. Honda in general is kind of behind in that regard. The instrument panel here looks really dated. You have this little teeny tiny screen with this, digital speedo that looks like it came out of a Radio Shack, store. Materials in here are solid. It's still a nice, comfortable truck. It just doesn't feel like a truck in here. It still feels like I'm driving a Honda Pilot. So I kind of wish Honda had made some changes in here to give us more truck-like feel, maybe like a big shifter or something. And honestly, at this price, it should have a leather-wrapped wheel. I am surprised to find paddle shifters. You don't typically find that on trucks. But overall, the Ridgeline's interior is still roomy and airy. It still drives very nice, very car-like. And it's still surprisingly will tow a maximum 5,000 pounds and carry almost 1,600 pounds of payload in the bed. So this is not a bad vehicle if you guys need to actually use it as a daily. And it actually drives a lot better than other trucks on the market. It just doesn't have the ground clearance that I was hoping it would have. You know, 7.6 inches is really pitiful, especially when you're looking at, you know, what truck buyers demand. So there you have it, the 2021 Honda Ridgeline Sport HPD. Butched up, of course, with tougher truck styling, a little bit more capability, more unique look on the outside, a little bit more standard equipment on the inside, still amazingly comfortable, still ridiculously practical, and still very, very smooth and car-like to drive. This is definitely remaining a truck that isn't designed to be appealing to actual truck people. This is more of a lifestyle type of vehicle. It's going to be interesting to me when Hyundai's new competitor, the Santa Cruz, come out along with the Ford Maverick. We've got a new version of the Nissan Frontier. So this mid-size to compact truck segment is really starting to heat up. Honda was kind of somewhat the first. Technically, Subaru was with the Baja and the Brat a long time ago, but Honda is definitely still very much a pioneer in offering a lot of exclusive features, but I think they kind of missed the mark still with a couple of key aspects. The interior, as you guys saw, is full of old school tech that has a very hateful touchscreen that I just cannot stand. The interior itself also hasn't really aged well. I don't like how it still feels like a minivan. It just doesn't stand out in a special way, whereas Honda's trying to fix that with the exterior. The inside is still very much a letdown for me. It has lots of space, but until Honda completely upgrades their tech interface and gives us a cabin that's a lot more unique versus what you find in the Pilot, it makes it hard for me to recommend the Ridgeline. Now, if you guys don't care about stuff like that, tech isn't really that important to you, this is still an awesome truck, and you're gonna pay a little bit more money versus the last year's model, considering all the standard equipment that Honda gave you now. This truck starts at $36,500 for the base Sport. My tester has that Hpd package and the $400 color. The Hpd package is $2,800. I would skip it entirely because I don't like these gray fender or these plastic fender flares. With the Hpd package, my tester sticker's in at $40,840, which is a lot of money considering you don't have leather and a leather-wrapped wheel. Now, if you guys want to spend $3,000 more for the rtl package, I'd highly recommend that for the blind spot monitoring, the heated leather seats. That's around $40,000. Skip this package. I'd probably spend $1,500 to add the utility package that would give you the roof rail crossbars and the running boards. That gives it a little bit more functionality and improves the look significantly versus this. But keep in mind, if you want a fully loaded version of the Ridgeline, a black edition, those are going to be coming in at around $45,000 at destination, which does make it around the same price as most of its competitors, maybe even a little bit less depending on the options. And the Ridgeline still remains a compelling vehicle, but just keep in mind there's a lot of new competition coming out soon, and it's going to make choosing this vehicle a lot harder unless you're a dedicated Honda fanboy. Now, with all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on this 2021 Honda Ridgeline Sport HPD. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, be sure to follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews. Like us on Facebook, and as always, guys, please keep subscribing to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.